in America, and we're going to talk about that. Article 13. Now, a lot of you will say Article 13 isn't about slavery. Well, there was an Article 13 that was started and has never been ratified. It still can be ratified. That would exclude any foreign influence, and anyone that took up that foreign influence, like the British Accredited Registry, BAR, that judges and lawyers, attorneys, not lawyers, attorneys go through, have to become the bar, part of the bar. Now, some people say, well, the bar is about, the bar between, the public and the courtroom. There is that. That's true. But there is also a British. Why would they even have that? Why would they even term it that? British Accredited Registry, because you're part of Britain still, right? So in 1871, later after the War of 1812, and that was never ratified, the British came in and had massive influence on us after the Civil War, where Abraham Lincoln had taken in all the debt of both of the South and the North. And we were in arrears quite a bit. And so he got the backing of the British, all right, to cover the debt. And his plan was to, eventually through tariffs, which had been working exceptionally well, he would pay that back. Of course, he was assassinated, probably through the British influence and so forth, just like they did the War of 1812, so that they could have influence on America, control America. And after 1871, they've had the Corporation of America, and all the laws that were, for Americans went bye-bye, right? Especially with the new Article 13 and the Amendment 13 and Amendment 14 and so forth. Some of them never were not ratified, right? So we'll talk about that in later shows, but I want to focus on, what's going on right now. This is the thing that we all need to be aware of, this manipulation through the judicial systems throughout each state, right? So everybody talks Constitution. The Constitution has been usurped massively through statutory law, common law, which is the law of the Constitution, has been usurped and taken over by the British Accredited Registry, right? It's been a slow squeeze. 1913, of course. We'll talk about that as well. When the Federal Reserve came in and basically took away our tariffs, right? Our tariffs had made America great. And when the Federal Reserve came in, they started the taxation and did away with the tariffs and brought in free trade. Every time free trade has come in, it's been the destruction of a nation. So our free trade has been slowly squeezing and destroying our nation. And President Trump is trying to bring us back to the tariffs, which I will explain are the thing that we have to go back to, right? And do away with free trade. Free trade destroyed England, right? Tariffs, and made China great. And we'll talk about all the different countries that have done free trade. There's been no country that has had free trade that has gone on to be successful. They're eventually destroyed, right? So America has been destroyed through judicial process and through this free trade nonsense. So we're going to talk about both of those. We'll talk about what happened last night at the State of the Union address, the clown show that happened on the Democrat side. We'll talk about all that. It's going to be a really, really good show. So I did real good research. I've had some people that have been informing me very deeply on the judicial side and how that is a key for us going forward. All right. So let me share the screen, and we'll start with the Titles of Nobility Amendment. Titles of Nobility Amendment, which was supposed to be, and very nearly was, the 13th Amendment. right? And then they buried it. And now we have the 13th Amendment, which was in slavery. All right. So, titles of nobility come up. There you go. Right. It's slow to come up. I don't know why. I guess it has to go through NSA, and they have to approve it first. The Titles of Nobility Amendment is a proposed and still pending amendment. So you think I'm joking? I just did a show with Sheila Holm where she talked about how she nearly died, and many other people died from a bioweapon attack. And YouTube took it down and gave me a warning. So they still are pushing on that bioweapon stuff, guys. All right, they're still controlling the narrative on that. All right, so it was still pending amendment, still pending. We need to bring this back in. All right, so and make it and have it passed, because it very nearly was passed. The 11th Congress passed it on May 1st, 1810, and submitted to the state legislators for ratification. So it passed through Congress and the Senate, and then it went to the states. So there had to be a certain number of states that passed it, and we were right there. And then the War of 1812 happened. How about that? All right, so it would, it talks about how it would strip United States citizenship from any citizen who accepted a title of nobility. So all those judges, all those bar law attorneys could potentially lose their citizenship for being in the bar, for being part of the bar, right? And I believe that we have had lots of mischief that has been destroying America, and this is a good place where we can fix it. Text from amendment. If any citizen of the United States shall accept, claim, receive, or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall, without the consent of Congress, accept and retain any present, pension, office, or emolument of any kind whatever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States, and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit from them or either of them. So it was proposed, it was pushed forward. I'm not going to go into, what motivated that. There's a good reason why it was motivated. There's still a good reason why it's motivated to be passed right now, right? Because of the judicial nonsense that's going on in America. The Titles of Nobility Amendment was introduced by the Senate by Democrat, Republican Senator Philip Reed, and used to have a Democrat-Republican group. And then they had Democrats and Republicans, used to have Whigs and all kind of crazy stuff in, back then. So Philip Reed of Maryland was passed on April 27th, 1810 by a vote of 19-5. So it didn't have a lot of people back then. We need to go back to that. And sent to the House of Representatives for its consideration. It was passed by the House on May 1st. So it went through very quickly. The Senate and the House, boom, boom. Now, having been approved by Congress, the proposed amendment was sent to the state legislatures for ratification and was ratified by the following states. Maryland starts in 1810, and then into the next year, you see how every state was boom, 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 passing this. And then the War of 1812 came. And then, of course, we have Virginia, which was, leaned towards the British. New York, which leaned heavily towards the British. Connecticut, Rhode Island, and South Carolina, which didn't say no and didn't say yes. But South Carolina is very suspect too, because the British came in and took over Charleston very easily, right? And huge army there, and somehow the British just came in and took everything, right? Now, the British, fortunately, were eventually defeated through, I think, guerrilla warfare, and that's what turned the tide. So I could talk about that in other shows, but this is basically where we're at right now, guys. This was a amendment that was almost passed, and it was stopped through the War of 1812, where British came in. They're like, oh, no, 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 no. You're not going to exclude us. We basically were able to, walk away from the Revolutionary War with the knowledge that eventually we're going to have control. And they probably did to a certain extent. So now we move on to the next War of 1812. So War of 1812, of course, the British came in, they burned the Capitol, where the 13th Amendment was written and stored. We didn't have a Capitol back then. We had the White House. Did I say the Capitol? So the White House, they burned the White House down. The Capitol, I don't think was built back then, but, further down the line. So anyway, regardless, we had, groups that fought against each other, belligerents. So the United States had the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, the Lower Creek, and Tuscarora. And the United Kingdom had Tecumseh's Confederacy, Red Sticks, Menominee, and 6 nations of the Grand River and West Florida. Wow. Commanders and leaders: James Madison, who eventually become president, John Rogers, Stephen Decatur, Andrew Jackson, William Henry Harrison, William Hull, and Winfield Scott. So the strength at the start of this war was 7,000 of the United States, 5,200 under the United Kingdom, and I'm looking at the Earl of Liverpool was the lead, I guess. Eventually, the United States would have 35,800 troops at war's end. The Rangers, militia, frigates, 12, lots of Rangers. Rangers are badass, still are badass. And the strength of the British Empire was 48,000. So 35 to 48. So sounds like somebody made a deal, right? Somebody made a deal. You don't continue this talk of this 13th Amendment, and we'll walk away from that. That's what I think happened, right? Both sides, of course, we had the Francis Scott Key, the bombardment of Fort, what was it, McHenry or something like that. Started the Star Spangled Banner, and of course the flag wasn't pulled down. The British fleet bombardment didn't make them go away, so they fought, throughout the night. Very, very good. So we made a good showing, but we lost the 13th Amendment, right? It was never ratified. So British influence to this day has continued. Of course, President Trump, when he went to England in his first term, he basically, walked in front of the Queen and all that kind of stuff. And they went to the Vatican and got lots of gold out of the Vatican. The Pope wasn't very happy. The English weren't happy because Trump said that 1871 deal you made, that's done, right? And so you no longer control us. So now we need to move into, so the executive was done. We're moving into the legislative, and now we need to do the judicial, right? How many of you guys know there's 3 branches of the United States, of the government? I know because I had to when I was playing football, because the head of my football coach was, he taught basically the 3 branches of government, the Constitution. So I had to do well in that class, right? So, and I'm glad I did, right? I'm glad I did. So, and I was the fastest guy in my school. My school did really good at football, but instead of going on to college where everybody wanted me to go, because I was such a fast runner and so good, I went into the Navy and became a Navy SEAL. Glad I did that, right? Tariffs, the taxes that made America great. Now I looked through this, and You can ask ChatGPT, and they're going to tell you some bullshit, right? Because that's the way it's programmed. And you're going to look at probably the first 5 to 10 little, look at me. This is, that's President Trump. He's stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, 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 blah. But if you look a little deeper, you're going to find the truth. And that's what you got to do, guys. You got to dig, because there's a lot of bullshit out there. All right, so the 1810 13th Amendment, look that up. If you look up 13th Amendment, it's going to show you the, post-Civil War, free the slaves. Well, so the original 13th Amendment, like I said, needs to be passed. All right. Make America think again. Make America think again. All right. Patrick Buchanan did a good job here. He writes really good stuff. I love his stuff. All right. So let's see. Where am I going to start here? Somewhere after China. Yep. There we go. All right. Tariffs were the taxes that made America great, period, and will make America great again, and are making America great again. This is why President Trump was able to, cut taxes for the seniors, no more tax for Social Security, no more tax for people that are earning wages through tips, no more tax on people that do overtime, no more taxes on, or a bonus, I think, for people that buy new cars, get a loan or whatever, new cars in America, made in America cars, right? So there are lots of, he would not have been able to do that. And he gave every soldier, sailor, Marine, Air Force person that's active right now, $1,776. How did he do all that? Because if it was up to the Democrats, they would be taxing us more, right? So he continued the great, stuff that he did in his first term. I believe that somehow he was involved in keeping that from more taxes coming in over the last, previous 4 years during the Biden administration, which was just a show. And I think there's many reasons why he did it. So anyway, it goes on to talk about how they were the taxes relied upon by the first and greatest of our early statesmen before the coming of the globalists Woodrow Wilson and FDR, who were both communist, both of them communist, especially FDR, right? Started Social Security. Take from everybody and put it in a government program where when you retire, you get nothing pretty much after working your ass off, your whole life. So they've been stealing from Social Security. If they'd, taken money like the new Trump, fund that's out there for children, they would be super rich at this point if they hadn't kept stealing money from Social Security, right? So that was always their plan, and that's the way the Democrats are. They steal. They're stealers, and we'll see more of that when I come up to my next part, where I've posted lots of stuff in X. Tariffs to protect manufacturers and jobs. So Trump has talked about this, and the manufacturers have been, very happy with Trump tariffs because there were unfair trade practices that have been going on for decades and decades, all the way back to 1913, right? I believe that's when we went to free trade, because that's what Britain wanted, so that they could rape us, and they've been raping us ever since. So Trump is basically turning that around. So tariffs to protect manufacturing jobs were the Republican Party's path to power and prosperity in the 19th and 20th centuries, before the rise of the Rockefeller Eastern liberal establishment and its embrace of the British-bred heresy of unfettered free trade. Rockefellers, you are cursed. You should be cursed as a family, right? The Tariff Act of 1789 was enacted with the declared purpose, the encouragement and protection of manufacturers. It was the second act passed by the first Congress led by Speaker James Madison, right, who fought in that War of 1812. It was crafted by Alexander Hamilton and signed by President Washington. After the War of 1812, right, President Madison, backed by Henry Clay and John Calhoun and ex-President Jefferson and Adams, enacted the tariffs of 1816 to price British textiles out of competition. So Americans would build the new factories and capture the booming U.S. market. It worked. America became great. America will become great again under tariffs. Tariffs financed by Mr. Lincoln's War. The tariff of 1890 bears the name of Ohio Congressman and future President William McKinley, who said that a foreign manufacturer has no right or claim to equality with our own. He pays no taxes, he performs no civil duties. That is economic patriotism, putting America and Americans first. Americans, right? The Fordney-McCumber tariff gave President Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge the revenue to offset the slashing of Wilson's income taxes, igniting that most dynamic of decades, the Roaring Twenties. That the Smoot-Hawley tariff caused the Depression of the 1930s is a New Deal myth and lie in which America's school children have been indoctrinated for decades. The Depression began with the crash of the stock market in 1929, 9 months before Smoot-Hawley became law. Those lying thieves. The real villain, the Federal Reserve, which failed to replenish that third of the money supply that had been wiped out by thousands of bank failures. So all those banks got wiped out, and the Federal Reserve, which is not federal and has no reserves, came in and took over. And they made it so that those banks would fail. Milton Friedman taught us that a tariff is a tax, but its purpose is not just to raise revenue, but to make a nation economically independent of others and to bring its citizens to rely upon each other rather than foreign entities. The principle involved in a tariff is the same as that used by U.S. colleges and universities that charge foreign students higher tuition than their American counterparts. What patriot would consign the economic independence of his country to the invisible hand of Adam Smith in a system crafted by intellectuals whose allegiance is to an ideology, not a people? What great nation did free traders ever build? Free trade is the policy of fading and failing powers, ours included, past their prime. To the half-century following passage of the Corn Laws, the British showed the folly of free trade. They began the second half of the 19th century with an economy twice that of the USA and entered it with an economy half of ours, and equaled by a Germany which had, under Bismarck, adopted what was known as the American system. Of the nations that have risen to economic preeminence in recent centuries, the British before 1850, United States between 1789 and 1914. So 1913, when the Federal Reserve and the IRS started, post-war Japan, China in recent decades. How many did so through free trade? None. Zero. Zip. All practice economic nationalism. The problem for President Trump, once a nation is hooked on the cheap goods that are the narcotic free trade provides, it is rarely able to break free, because we have all these idiots, Democrats and so forth, that are screaming. And of course, the foreign entities like China and European countries and so forth that have been, raping the United States for a long time, they're crying and they're pumping money into Democrat coffers so that they can, cry for free trade and push back against and of course, we've seen this with, people within the Supreme Court who have sided with China over free trade, for free trade, and push back on, our great new way of trading, tariffs, right? Without tariffs, United States is going to crumble, and President Trump knows this, and that's why he's gone to tariffs. He's gone back to a way that has worked in the past, and it's going to work going forward. All right. So let's look at, the State of the Union last night and the clown show of the Democrat Party, which is trying to destroy America as fast as it can, and is showing its hand. All right, so this was, I watched it all last night. I say, no question now for all to see how the Dem Party needs to go bye-bye. Pass the SAVE Act, which he talked about, and he said it very, very strongly that it needs to be passed. So the Democrats, who would not be in power if the SAVE Act passes, will be taken away, and that's what I believe. Let's listen to this.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. If you agree with this statement, then stand. If you agree with this statement, if you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
No Democrat was standing. All the Republicans are standing and clapping. Look how long it goes. All right, so it's done. They hate America and the interests that are there. So this is an IRS bombshell. The 16th Amendment was never ratified. 330 trillion stolen from the American people, right? So let's go into this and look at this. It says the smoking gun is out. 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the very foundation that supposedly gives the federal government the power to collect income tax and authorize the IRS, was never legally ratified. Everything the IRS has done since 1913 is based on a lie. What does ratified mean? It's a legal process by which a constitutional amendment becomes law, by being properly approved by a required number of states, like I told you guys about the 13th Amendment. If that never happened, then the amendment is null and void until it gets approved. So everything built on top of it, including the IRS, has no legal foundation. 330 trillion stolen in broad daylight. That's a lot. It did not go to rebuilding cities, did not go to fix schools or roads, did not eliminate poverty. It was funneled into foreign banks, the deep state, endless wars, surveillance, censorship, and globalist control. All right? The IRS is a financial weapon, not a public service. It was never about funding freedom. It was about enforcing submission. What the 1985 IRS letter actually says, All right. So there was a letter that was written. Let's see if I can find it. All right, I have it on my laptop, so I'll just bring it up. All right, let me exit out of this and pull this puppy up. So it's a 1985 letter that was sent to all district directors. So they had a guy that basically came in and went to court and said, "You have no right to tax me," and he was right, and they had to admit it, but they did it very quietly, and they knew that people were going to come in and request to have their taxes refunded to them, and so they had to do it. They did it quietly for I guess around 5 years, and then it got suppressed. All right, so this was April 4th, 1985, Internal Revenue Service, and I'm going to have somebody come on. I know you guys like military, officers, so I'm going to have a military officer come in, and we're going to talk about this and lots of other things having to do with what's going on with the judicial. All right, so on March 5th, 1985, a charge of tax evasion was filed in U.S. District Court of Indianapolis, Indiana, by U.S. Attorney. Kind of hard to read some of this, but I don't know, maybe Geo, Duncan. So Duncan, the charges were dismissed. The defense attorney, Lowell Docraft of Huntsville, Alabama, presented irrefutable evidence that the 16th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was never properly ratified. The amendment, which established the income tax, was signed into law despite serious defects. In reality, only 2 states ratified the amendment, and I think it has to be 60, 70% or something of the states have to ratify it. So it wasn't ratified correctly. And ratification requires 30 states. So you have to have at least 30 states. That's the percentage of states you have to have. So the effect of this is such that every tax paid into the Treasury since 1913 is due and refundable to every citizen and business. Right? So I know a lot of you out there, so that's ridiculous. Oh, no. Come on. That kind of attitude is what, makes this stuff continue. All right, we got to get together and we got to push back on this stuff, guys. The official position of the service is, and this is what the commissioner of the Internal Revenue said, Roscoe Egger. So this is the Egger document, EGGER. So I've been given access to it, but it is out there. I guess it's been out there, maybe I guess it just was approved for me to do this for today. But I saw it on another post, like I just shared with you. It's in that post, so it's going out to everyone, guys. Spread this stuff. All right. I have it on my X account. You can go over there, copy it, share it, make a copy of it. Share it around. We got to get this out there. So we will not publish. So they're said back then. They knew that they were caught. We will not publish or advertise this finding as a total immediate refund would cause a serious drain on the resources of the Treasury. For those citizens who become aware of this finding and apply for a total refund, expedite their refund documents as quickly and as quietly as possible. A simple 1040X form will suffice until a new form is designed and printed. Advise each of your managers that they are not to discuss this situation with anyone. There will be no written communications, and you are to destroy this memorandum. The Secretary of the Treasury assures me that there will be no reduction to the workforce, as this refunding activity will take a minimum of 5 years to complete. Further directions will be forwarded as the need arises. So they've obviously hidden this for a long time. I've seen something like this over the years, but it is definitely out bigly now, right? So we're going to take down the IRS. If you've been paying taxes, you will get a refund. And you're like, Mike, how are we going to get a refund? That's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, right? Well, I will tell you, right? I will show you and I will tell you. Of course, this has been shared by Dr. Jan Halper Hayes, right? She did it on a show. Maybe many of you have seen this, but this is quintillions of dollars of gold that we recovered from the Vatican. I think it was like, how many planes was it? 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican. And I guess every other country got their gold back too. So this is about ready to pop. And, of course, we have to get control of the judicial. So the judicial is, restricting us from getting this. Now, another pot of gold was in the Philippines. We used to store gold there because we had massive numbers of bases there. Unfortunately, when the Japanese, raided the Philippines back in World War II, they had to cover it up and they had to hide it, probably down in deep underground military domes, and they just walked away. And so recently, as my understanding, is they've gotten it again. I guess the Japanese, when they came in, they probably tortured a lot of people trying to find that, but they never would. They never could. All right, so here we have Dr. Halper Hayes. I've fast forwarded this. She goes over, why Trump did a lot of stuff, why they had to let the election go in 2020, all kind of crazy stuff. So this is what she says at the end. This is Truths Unlimited, where you can find this. And I think it's at the 739 point is where I have this. It talks about how Trump walked in front of the Brits, monarchy, and he was respectful, but, he still was in charge.
Was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation because it was the Vatican, the Crown, and the U.S. that was part since 1871. And we were giving you our tax dollars. We were paying back. Forget this Tea Party and without taxation, without representation. We owed you a lot of money because you helped us in the Civil War. And so that is what Trump has now, he told the Queen, I'm ending this. We're dissolving this corporation. We're going to go back to being a republic and we'll all be separate. The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
I'm not very happy about it, Jan, to be perfectly honest. We could do with your money at the minute. Keep it flowing, I say. Jan Halper Hayes, really good to see you.
You too.
All right. So those Brits, they're not happy they don't have control of us and stealing our money anymore. And now we're seeing lots of the Brits basically go down under the Jeffrey Epstein files, which Jeffrey Epstein was a U.S. guy. Yay. All right. Yeah, he was an evil boy. Did evil things, but he's given up a lot of stuff. At some point, Epstein's going to testify, guys. And we're going to see a lot of people go bye-bye, right? Forever. And some of them because they deserve it, right? Because they've been very bad people, and on multiple levels, very, very bad. All right, so let's have a little fun with the lefties. I'm going to share this one comedian, Erin Wexler, I believe is her name, and she does, I think, a very good job of basically making us look at these lefties and go, oh, that's so funny what they do.
Amazing headline that said trans athlete makes Olympic history. So you might be thinking, oh, it's another man competing in women's sports. You would be wrong. You might think, oh, it's a woman finally competing in the men's division. You would also be wrong. It's a woman that identifies as a man, but because she hasn't done the surgeries, the hormones, anything, she's still competing in the women's division. So this woman made history by being like, I'm not like the other girls, and then literally being exactly like every other girl and competing in the women's division. I mean, that is like peak female energy to call that kind of attention. I will give her credit, like to do all of that to make like all of the articles use the pronouns, everything, and still compete with the women. That takes balls.
She's just calling out all of the BS on the left, and I love to see it.
Feminists have replaced the patriarchy with an even worse patriarchy. They said they wanted equal rights. No. Actually, they wanted women to be the same as men, and they wanted us all to do the same things when we aren't actually meant to be the same. And so now that men and women aren't the same, that means that men can replace women. Liberal women always talk about inclusivity and people's feelings and smashing the patriarchy. But all they're doing is getting women's faces literally smashed in. And just the greatest irony is when you don't distinguish between men and women, and you don't give women their own space. The men dominate. The men are number one. The men win all the gold medals. So just in pretending we aren't different at all, we have just downgraded women in society to below men. How can you call yourself a feminist and support this?
Preach, sister, preach. That's just common sense to me.
What happened in Minnesota this week could not be a better example of one of the biggest dangers that we're dealing with in America right now. If you don't know what happened, a woman was in her car. There are all these ICE agents in Minnesota. They asked her to get out of the car. She would not comply. She started driving, and then she drove basically into one of these ICE agents, and he shot her. And this obviously reflects one of the biggest dangers to society right now, which is female drivers.
So, how do we overcome this problem with female drivers? We make them Muslim, because Muslim women can't drive. Hello. So we have a lot of this stuff. We have good people out there. This woman is doing a great job of bringing attention to it, through comedy. But it is a major problem that we need to overcome. So that the destruction of our society, the British Empire coming in and imposing taxation without representation still, right? So we went to a revolutionary war to overcome that, but, they've still been stealing from us. The British accredited registry, they control us through our judicial branch, right? And make themselves wealthy once again, right? Through American taxpayers. So we got to stop it. All right, so that's one of the things that I think is really going to start to happen. The original, look it up, the original 13th Amendment proposed in 1810. Start to educate yourself. Now, other things that we're going to start to see, as we're seeing Florida, is trying to do away with tax on property tax. And it's getting a lot of attention. But what a lot of people don't know is that, you'll go in and you'll vote for no property tax, sure. But then they're going to come in and they're going to come out with other bullet points within that. So each state will have to, say yes or no that goes after, the property taxes. Likely ballot measures tied to the property tax reform package, as I'm finding out, are HJR 201. So let me, I can't bring it up because it's in a email group. So maybe I'll bring it up later, and because I think it was sent to me, but I haven't seen it yet. So elimination of non-school property tax for homesteads. So some people might be like, well, we need to fund the schools. No, there's lots of money coming in, and property tax is theft from us, guys, as what we're starting to see. So what it would do, propose a constitutional amendment So each state within cities, within towns, are going to have to start to get very aggressive with overturning their own, constitutions, amendments that are in there that were forced down on them that don't apply anymore and shouldn't be there. So we're going to see a lot of this stuff happening. I know Sheila Holm is involved in this to a great extent, and maybe we'll have her back on to talk a little bit more deeper about this. But, there's, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different limits on property assessment increases, portability of tax benefits, insured home exemptions expansion, 25% homestead exemption, property tax exemption for seniors. So you might see this and go, yes, for one or two of these, but maybe another one, it won't feel right to you. And if you say no, that crushes getting that through. See how they're going to word it? They do this. This is the bar governors, probably bar governors too, because a lot of these guys are, former attorneys, right? So bar governors, bar judges, bar attorneys, we need to see at least 60% of support from voters to pass and for this to become law. 60%. Now, most of the people in Florida are like, God, yeah, we're going to do away with this. Of course, there's going to be some people that are brainwashed and confused and guided to say no by the Democrats, of course, because, they're the ones that really benefit the most from these taxes that come in where they steal them, right? So these property taxes are used for illicit purposes often by the Democrats and sometimes Republicans too. Yeah, absolutely. So the final ballot, you have to have all of these things you say no to, all right, or yes to, depending on the wording. So they could do the wording different for each one, and you're like, oh, I'm going to vote yes on each one. Already know that. You go in, you get bump, 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 and then because a lot of us have talked about this, and everybody believes this, and this in the last minute they change one or two of the languages so it should say no. Yeah, they do that. Duh. So we're going to have to be very, assertive of getting the right information out, making sure that we, continue to stay informed, inform each other, and keep ourselves, from being taxed. Property taxes, IRS taxes, state taxes, all of it needs to go away. All of it needs to go away. We have tariffs coming in, which will completely and totally, take care of that. So in the meantime, we have AI coming in and taking away jobs on a massive scale. All right. So if you want to build income from a very reliable source, come over to LifeWave, guys. All right. Build your business. We'll help you out. Break free from a lot of these corrupt corporations. I will start talking more about these corporations. A lot of these corporations are starting to leave some of these Democrat cities, and it's going to destroy even more of these cities, like Chicago. McDonald's is leaving Chicago, right? And why? Because they have all these woke policies, and they want to overtax a lot of these, corporations. The same thing in New York. A lot of the corporations in New York, especially with Mamdani coming in, they're going to jack up the corporate fees as well, taxation. Right now in New York, I think it's like 12 or 12.6, something like percent rate for businesses. What is it in Florida? Almost zero, all right? So why would a corporation continue to pay that money, right? That's a lot of money that they get off there, and they could use that money to pay their employees more. Cost of living in New York is probably higher than it is in Florida. So why, when they move to Florida, why wouldn't corporations like McDonald's move to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which they're going to do, right? And you have, crying Democrats now because they don't understand that it's their policies and their wokeness and their political positions that they're like, having these corporations do, you got to have woke, a percentage of woke in your corporation. Otherwise you can't be in our state. They're fleeing these bullshit woke states, guys. All right. So you guys are living in those states are going to get more tax, right? You're going to make up for the tax that's leaving those states. All right. All right. How do we do away with this? We do away with the bar. All right. How do we do away with the bar? We get that 13th Amendment that was never ratified. I bet you every state, when if they found out, what's going on with that bar, they would ratify it overnight. All right. And then we would see that bar association go bye-bye. And then we go back to common law, constitutional law, and we would destroy the deep state so friggin' fast, it would make your head spin. And so there's a lot of corporations out there that need a spanking, like YouTube, right? So anyway, lots of us are going to keep pushing this narrative, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's over on Rumble, whether it's in Facebook or Twitter or X rather. We're going to continue it. And I got a lot of stuff on X, got a lot of stuff on Facebook. I got stuff here on YouTube as long as they let me stay. It's again, I build up a big, subscriber base, and then they start to come after me. It's like they're getting too big for his pants, right? We're gonna have to take his money away, right? So that's the way they do it. That's the way they work, guys. But I have a Lifeway business. I'm good, right? I'll continue to build that. Come join me.